is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know if will ever figure out where the road goes. Falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, the sky is falling down. Falling down, even if the sky is falling down, the sky is falling down.
Welcome, beautiful souls. My name is Rainey Day. I am a generational psychic medium, and believe it or not, I have had this gift, the gift of insight, since birth. And I am bringing to you a series of interviews with some incredible psychic mediums, and they all come from the beautiful Lisa Williams student community. Lisa Williams has been a mentor of mine for many, many years. Just because I was born this way doesn't mean that I am done learning. And I have had her grace and her incredible spiritual educator abilities from the Lisa Williams School. I love that she promotes being each other's own cheerleaders. She likes us to help each other out. And so in a few minutes, you're going to meet one or two, depending on who they are, some of these incredible people from this Lisa Williams student community. Big shout out to Lisa Williams, because truly she has taught me some things that I would have never thought of. Boundaries with spirit. Ways to get evidence and identifiers as a medium, ways to really be that forensic psychic. If you're interested, she has the Lisa Williams International School of Spiritual Development, and you can find her website on lisawilliams.com. This is a non-paid endorsement. I am just paying it forward because there was a time when Lisa Williams and Muni from themuniverse.com offered a class on launch your psychic business, and it changed my life. And so ever since then, Spirit has guided me to help others who are from this beautiful community, help them grow, help them start their business, help them get the word out of their beautiful, talented gifts. And that's my goal here today, so that you can meet each one of these beautiful people and learn too different ways of connecting with spirit. You know, I am a spiritual educator, and one of the things that people always ask me is, how did you learn what you do? Or how do you connect? all of these people bring to the table a beautiful eclectic array of spiritual abilities, and they were going to share how they developed their specialized area of psychic mediumship and help you grow, in those intuitive skills. And Lisa Williams, another shout out to her. If you have had any doubt about growing in your abilities, she is the one to tune into. So check her out. And in a few minutes, you're going to meet some of these beautiful people from that Lisa Williams community. And hopefully I'm going to be their biggest cheerleader. And you find them just as fascinating as I do. So stay tuned. We're going to get started with one of those beautiful souls. And there's a few that I interview that they work in pairs. There's a really unique duo coming up. Just these beautiful, wonderful spirits from all over the world, all over the country, coming to you shortly. Again, my name is Rainy Day. You can find me at rainyday.com. Yes, that really is my name. I promise you. I swear. Pinky swear. We will see you in a minute, and you can just enjoy these wonderful interviews. And I just want to thank each and every one of them for allowing me and trusting in me. And hopefully their message came through, and it will resonate with you. So get ready in 3, 2, 1. We hear a dog barking in the back room. That must mean that we have an animal communicator. Oh my goodness, I can't wait for you guys to meet this beautiful soul. So if you don't know me, my name really is Rainy Day. I am a generational psychic medium. I have had these gifts since I took my first breath into this human existence. And I'm here today to bring you another Lisa Williams student community. Incredible, literally incredible animal communicator. Her name is Nicole Elizabeth. I love that. Nicole Elizabeth. And she's from Australia, and she's global. I cannot wait for you to meet her. She is fabulous. And so let's bring in the beautiful Nicole. You're going to love her. You're just going to love her. Hi, Nicole. How are you? Let's unmute you.
Hello. What an introductory. Wow.
I have been waiting and waiting patiently to bring you to the masses because I know a few animal communicators. I am also an animal communicator. But what I love about you is that you have them all around you. So why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself, tell us where we can find you, and when did you realize that you had this little Dr. Doolittle in you, that you could communicate and talk to the animals?
Okay, so a little bit about me. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. It's going to be a fun show. I can just feel it. So I'm in Australia. I run a farm animal sanctuary and rescue. So I also do other things. I have my animal communication, the rescue. They're the main things in my life. So animals are life to me. Let me see. When I was young, so I blame my dad. Dad gets blamed. When I was young, we're at a water park. I was very, very young. Like I can remember very early on in my age. And my mum was like, how do you even remember that? But I remember it very clearly. At a water park, going down a water slide because, early 80s. I'm a child of the 70s, so I was a kid in the early 80s and, safety wasn't really a thing then. So go down a water slide, fall off, go in the water, can't swim because I'm a kid. And I remember looking at I'm on the bottom of the pool, looking up going, I'm going to die. I had full acceptance. It was peaceful. It was calm. And I actually remember being completely like, oh, this is what it's like to die. Just maybe because I was a kid, I just accepted it. Next minute, I get yanked out of the water upside down and all this sort of kerfuffle. And I'm like, what's going on here? To be honest, I was actually a little bit annoyed because I was so happy down there underneath the water. Anyways, that's where it started. I blame my dad. After that event at home, I would just see people come into my room and they'd just walk in and I'd be like, okay. Because as a kid, you accept these things. You don't really question them. You just think, oh, okay, person, spirit. And sometimes you don't even know they're a spirit. They're just like, oh, okay, someone walked in. The moment I realized there was a spirit, though, was when I saw my mother come in, just look at me, and then walk out. And I thought, oh, that's strange. Followed her. She walked down the hallway and vanished in the wall. And I thought, I don't think that's my mum. And I went into my room, and there was my mum sleeping. So that was kind of the moment when I realized, okay, these are spirits. Didn't really scare me. I mean, that did sort of throw me a bit. But then from that point on, after that event, my mum got me a cat, Elizabeth. And I would speak to her all the time, and we would have these two-way conversations. But to me, that was normal. That was just my cat. I'm talking to her like I speak to my dolls, but I get a response here. And we grew up together. So I remember going to school, walking to school with my sister. We'd have to cross a highway because back then that's what you did. You didn't take the lights. You went across the highway.
Right. That's when kids could be kids.
That's right. And, you know, you'd come home and there was a key somewhere and you'd let yourself in. Like that was, what do they call that? The key latch generation or something like that. I don't know. But anyway.
Latchkey, I don't even know. But you know what I found it interesting is that you said it was normal for you at that time. I love that. You were totally accepting. For me, it was always normal. I've never known anything different. So you're on your way to school with your sister.
Oh, yes. So my cat would walk to the highway with me and I'd say to her, and eventually I didn't even say it to her, I'd just think it, you need to stay here, I'm going to school. And she'd just sit and she'd watch us cross the road and we'd go to school, come back, and she'd meet us at the same spot in the afternoon. She knew the time and then we'd walk home. And it was just things like that. We'd be playing at the canals because we'd lived near the canals before they were actually expensive. You know, those canals, swampland. And she'd always come with us. She'd be with us. And if it was raining, I'd say, you have to go home. And then she would go home. And I don't know, she just really opened my eyes to it. But then when I was probably early teenage age, you think, oh, no one else is really doing this. No one else is talking to their animal. No one else is hearing people walking outside the window murmuring to themselves. And then I realized, hang on, something's not right. So then I sort of shut it down. And I shut it down for years. And it wasn't until I was in my late 30s. Although you shut it down to a point, but you never really shut it down because you always have animals come up to you or you just have that intuition about situations. But it wasn't until I was in my late 30s that I thought, no, I'm going to pick this up again. And
it's like you came out of the closet. Everybody has that coming out of the closet moment.
Yes.
But I love how you still continue to talk to the animals.
And you know what did it? It was because...
I love how you still continue to communicate with the animals.
Because you can do it in your mind. You don't... Oh, sorry, my internet's a bit unstable. Oh, sorry.
No, you're doing fine. You're fine.
But yeah, you just... Excellent. What was I saying? Oh, the animals. So what actually kicked it off, I was rescuing animals at this point. And then it just kind of naturally happened. It's like, well, I'm going to do this. I can speak to them. And then, you know, I can speak to my animals. And I remember hearing a duck. I'd walk past a duck. It came to me because it was quite aggressive. It would grab other ducks and like pin them to the ground and all sorts of things. He just had attitude. I walked past him and he's like, why am I here? And I'm like, buddy, you're here because you're really mean. And do you know what? Never had a problem with him. And that kind of just like, let's do this. Yeah. So there you go.
That is incredible. Well, so on your website, tell us your website real quick.
Okay, so it's www.connecttoanimals.com. All my social media is Connect to Animals. So on Facebook, you'll see it's /Connect to Animals. Same with Instagram or the website. So
just type in Connect to Animals and you'll see Nicole Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So you talk about. I'm also a spiritual educator, and people always ask me, Rainey, how do you develop your abilities? And on your website, you talk about your studies with Trisha Carr and Lillian Snyder. Tell us a little bit about that journey, and why those people. Why did you choose those people?
Well, Trisha Carr, I was recommended by someone she was a medium, and she sort of was like, oh, I know this really good animal communicator who teaches. And what I've actually learned over the years is that it's a real skill to teach. And even though it feels like a coincidence to sort of be like recommended to the right people, I do feel it was the right people. So I did her intensive course. She then has a group where you can practice with. And to get to Lillian, that's right, I was actually doing a mediumship course with Cindy Kaiser, and I looked up Arthur Finlay, and then I saw Lillian. I went, oh, Lillian. And I've done a few courses with Lillian, and with her, it was just like, oh, like I found my, like, I don't know, like just the way she teaches, the way she does it. Because I thought I was a little bit strange, because when I speak to an animal, and this is actually the way Trisha Carr taught me as well, to do it to other animals, not my own, because your own you just have a chat with.
Right.
So you just like, and then you can have arguments. But for other people, and having the person there, I actually found it, like, it just always put me off. And I couldn't really work out why. But what I do is I speak to the animal alone, then I speak to the owner. And to me, that just feels comfortable, because it just all fell into place, I think, after speaking to Lillian, because she's both excellent teachers, but Lillian is an excellent teacher. And to be honest, Trisha Carr was the one that sort of put me on the road to do this.
Gave you those aha moments where you're like, that's how I connect. That's how I do it.
Yes. So they're both equally as important on my journey. So I think we should recognise the people that do teach us. So they're both excellent teachers. But when I sort of had that aha moment of like, oh, I'm so used to just speaking to the animal that to have other people involved puts me off. And then I don't want to, and then Lillian even put it, sometimes when you're speaking to the person, you could be picking up what the person feels in their aura and get a psychic reading from the person, but then you're not really connecting to the animal. And for me, it's all about the animals. Animals are alive. And I'm not saying that's what happens all the time. I'm just saying that's just how it happens for me, because there are excellent people, and I have a colleague, Courtney, and she does it like that with the person there and the animal, and she prefers it that way, and she's excellent at doing it that way. That's just my way.
But don't you find that everybody has their own unique way of connection? Yes. That we're not like cookie cutters. We're all different. Like, I read energy, and sometimes I have to have a picture in order to really connect, alive or departed. And I love the fact that you tell your clients the information that you need. So let's talk a little bit about that. So you ask for the pet's age, how long have they had their pet, a photo showing the pet's eyes, if they're living or deceased, and what is the goal of their reading. So let's start with the pet's age and how long have they had their pet. How is that significant? And how did you come up with these things that help you really connect with that animal? I'm so interested in the mechanics of it.
No, that's fine. So do you know what? This is actually going to go back to my original t-shirt. The age and how long you've had the pet really just came down to, that's the way Trisha taught me. And so I've always done that. But I tend to really focus on the animal, whereas I like having that information. That isn't as important as for me, because I'm visual. I like to see the animal. I don't necessarily need to see the eye, but I like to see it, because, the eyes are just, they say the eyes are the windows to the soul. And because I am visual and because I see things, I need to see it. And living or deceased, for me, just tends to tune into that animal a little bit better. So if you think of it in tuning into a radio, it's kind of like, well, I'm tuning into, I'll say, my dog Zusya, who's 10 and alive. It's kind of like, a good way to describe it is, it's kind of like that's their frequency. So when you put the intention out there, it's like, again, I'll use Zusya 10 alive and the owner. And you're just like tuning in to that pet. For me, it's kind of my way of knowing that I'm tuning into that pet. So the age, I guess, not as important, but then when you do have the age, it's like, well, that animal, because how many Bellas do you know? How many Bellas that aged 5.5 with this owner. Tune in, boom.
And that's one of those keys that you need in order to really read that animal, because we're all different. For me, a picture says 1,000 words. Another one of my very best friends is an animal communicator. She sees through their eyes, which is a very unique way. But when you talked about seeing the eyes of their soul, that's just incredible. You also talk about fixated on a certain outcome and missing pets. Do you find missing pets? And can you tell us some stories about that and how, again, the mechanics, how do you do what you do?
To be honest, sometimes the information just comes. Sometimes I can see something, or I'm like, okay, this animal's hidden here. To give you some examples, missing pets can be very difficult. Not everyone does missing pets, because missing pets generally don't just sit there and go, I'm missing, find me, or I'm at this address. Missing pets don't know.
Don't you wish they could?
Yeah. Like, you can feel their energy on a map, but they can't go, well, I'm actually at 3:24 this afternoon. I'm going to be at this address. Can you come pick me up? Because that's just not how animals work. So I'll give you a case of, in Australia, gosh, when was it? Maybe a few months ago. I honestly can't remember how long ago. It was within the year. There was a lady and her partner walking their 2 dogs. She was pregnant. Someone ran into them. I think they were both killed. I know definitely the pregnant lady was killed. Dogs took off. One dog was found straight away, and like everyone got together, was searching for this dog. And then I kind of had heard of it, but I don't really watch the news, so I didn't really pick up on it. And my friend messaged me. She said, I need you to look into this dog. And I just looked at the photo. I said, it'll be found. Don't worry about it. And she's like, no, you need to look at it now. And I'm like, no, I'm busy. Anyway, so we had this bit of a thing. And I'm like, okay. And I went, hang on, whoa, that's the dog on the thing. And I said, that dog is sick. Said, yes. And I'm like, oh, okay. Give me a minute. And I'm like, okay. You're searching in the wrong area for starters, because there was a search party. There was a lady with her dog heading in the search party. They were walking for hours around streets, around just where the accident was, because the dog just takes off, right? Scared, takes off. I said, what I'm seeing, I'm not seeing houses. I'm seeing a park. I'm seeing an open area. There's a toilet block. You need to be looking at trees that look like this. So I did a screenshot of trees. It's kind of, this dog can see people, but it's hidden. So you'd have to look for it. And it's sort of, and they're like, okay, well, we're searching in this area. I said, no, it's the wrong area. Like, you just feel it. It's the wrong area. You need to change your search. Within the hour, I get a message, dog found. And what had happened was they changed their search. The lead lady with the dog, her dog started to react when they were near a park with a toilet block, near a water source, the trees like that. This dog, thank God it was fine, because it had Addison's disease, and if you don't get your medication, you'll crash within 12 hours and you can die. So this dog needed to be found.
Oh my God, yes.
So they found, because I've had a dog with Addison, so I've understood that. I'm like, I just put it out. So that thank goodness, it sounds bad, but I was kind of like behind the scenes. And then the lady who actually found the dog that was on the news, like the dog was found, then messaged me the next day going, oh, can you help me with I was on the search party, I was in the lead, can you help me with my missing bird?
A missing bird? How cool is that? So
and that's another, yeah.
As you're talking about this, is it remote viewing, or is there a label you can put on it? It just seems so unique how you found this dog.
See, I don't know. Like, if you look at remote viewing, as you know, the US government was training their troops to do, that's very, very specialized. What I do is and you know how you said with your friend behind the pet's eyes, in missing pet cases, sometimes they'll show, it's all dependent on what they want to show me. Sometimes I see it from there. It's kind of like their head's there and I'm here. Like, I've seen cats in cages and vets. Or they don't want to talk. And they're like, no, I'm not busy, leave me alone. And they'll shut down. Some pets are so scared, they just don't, they're like, just stop talking to me. Like, because, you know, when you're in a car and you turn down the music because you need to concentrate. That's kind of what they do. So I don't know exactly what you call it. I'm just me. So I don't even know what label you put on me. That's why I just say communicator, because I just accept what the animal shows me. Sometimes
that's the key right there is you let the animal guide you. To me, that's your magic.
Yeah, just there shouldn't be a format, even though I need these particular things for me to tune in. I don't like a format. I say to the animals, this is your message. This is completely up to you. It doesn't matter, sounds bad, it doesn't matter what the owner wants to hear. What do you want to say? And sometimes animals will go, oh, thank God.
Thank God somebody can hear me.
And then that's just the release sometimes. So, yeah, so sometimes I guess you would call it remote viewing. Sometimes they'll show me on a map, I'm here, or that they'll, like, their energy will just like, you'll just hone into that area. Sometimes you'll just know, like with that dog, I'll just like, no, you're in the wrong direction. You're over here. You need to be here. Because I feel the pull of my energy go over here. Yeah. So it's just, you know what? I just accept it. Just take it. Don't label me. Don't.
Yeah. And you just go where the animal tells you. You also talk about, have you ever wondered what your pet is thinking? So can you share with us some of the things that they think? Because there are some people out there who really love their animals, but they don't pay attention to their cues.
Yes.
Tell me some of the things that you've ran into.
Oh, gosh, which animal do I start with? Okay, so I'll start with Clara. Clara I pick on a lot. She's one of my ducks. She's a great foster mum, just so you know. She used to come inside. So Clara was a duck, but she is a duck, but she's not the normal duck. She likes being inside. And we would put this duck outside and she'd be like, you could see her look at you like, oh, no, this isn't going to work for me. Walk around up the back stairs and up through the dog door and sit in the exact spot. She likes to be in that spot. When we moved, we thought, you're going to have to be a duck, Clara. Can you stay outside? So she stays outside the back door. She still stays close to the house. And we had to bring an injured animal in, like a rescue animal. My husband walked past her and he heard Clara say, why is she getting inside? Why is she getting inside? So they have opinions. To me, they're just like humans.
It seems like they have their own like little personalities too.
Yes. Oh,
I love your cow picture on your website. Is that a cow you know or have communicated with?
Yes.
There's something about that cow. What is that cow thinking?
Oh my gosh, she is way more human than any other animal I've met. She's now passed. We found Emma. There's a bit of a story to Emma. She actually kicked off our rescue. I was just driving home and I saw this little cow. I thought it was a cow because I thought I was a fair distance away. Walk out to the road and sit. Slammed on my brakes, nearly hit her. Then I realised, oh, my God, this is a calf. And then I looked at her, moved her off the road for starters, looked at the mum, no cows in sight. Looked at the back, her tail had been ripped off. Wild dog, she'd been attacked. She had bite marks all over her.
Oh, my poor Emma.
She was not in a good way. And someone else stopped and they tried to help and we're like, okay. And my mind's like, my logical mind kicked in. It's like, right, let's get her in the car. Let's take her to the farms. Let's ask the farmers. Let's get her reunited with her mum. Like, that was my goal. Put her in the car and she had tears. If people say animals don't have emotions, they are wrong. She had tears. She was so upset. The pain, like my chest, I can even remember the feeling in my chest.
Seriously, she was crying?
She was crying. She was just didn't know what to do.
Oh, my gosh.
She was so scared. She was like literally just in a huddle, scared because she didn't know what to do.
Can you imagine?
Oh,
I can't imagine.
Oh, I got goosebumps. I love her so much.
I knew I loved that cow.
Oh, there's absolutely a story behind her. And so we went to all the farms. No, don't know her. No, don't know her. I tried Jimmy down the road. Tried so-and-so down the road. Tried one. farm. We tried, no one was home. And I said to my husband, I bet you that's where she comes from. And I thought, well, we can't leave her on the side of the road. A few people said, just leave her, she'll be dead by the morning. I'm like, no. We took her home and we said, right, we'll try the farm again. It was on the weekend. We'll take her to the vet. Maybe the local vet will know what farm, because they know all the farms, right? They do all the local farms. We fully expected her to die, to be honest. And we're like, oh, God. Tried to feed her, and she lived till Monday. So, right, first thing, got her in the car, put her in a dog harness, strapped her in the car because we didn't have any other means to transport her.
In a dog harness, that's fabulous.
You know, those dog harnesses? Yeah. We're just like, and she weed in the car. We're like, oh, well, I don't have the car anymore. This is how your intuition can kick in and you don't know. I took her to the local vet. The one, we just sort of went, we'll take her to that vet. The vet nurse was the niece of the farm that we were trying to get to, and she called Uncle Jimmy, and Uncle Jimmy said, yep, that's so-and-so's calf. She's been away from her mum too long. Keep her. And we're like, okay, because we were, by this time we were just like head over heels in love with her, but I was like, don't get attached. But
don't you think sometimes animals pick you?
Yes, 100%. Like, there's no coincidence that she walked out at that time in front. There was no other cars around, no cows around. Like, it was even odd that I was on the road at that time as well. Like, everything was just
that synchronicity.
Yeah, and it was her actually that kicked everything off. Anyway, got her through, spent a lot of money on her. She wasn't eating. She had a bad infection, a bone infection, a feeding tube. She lived inside because we couldn't leave her outside. We didn't want anything else to get her. So we set up a mattress in the lounge room and we'd sleep next to her, and she'd sleep next to us. My husband and I would take shifts depending on who was working and who would stay in the lounge room with her. And anyway, she got well, she's fine. As she grew, she just kept coming in the house. So everyone knew, the locals, that's Emma, she comes in the house. She did get to a point where she stayed outside, like she slept outside, but every night we had this little ritual. Okay, Emma, we've done dinner, come in. She'd walk in the house, sit down on her mattress, the same mattress, watch TV with us. When we're all to bed, okay, Emma, out you go. And she'd go outside because she was a big cow, so she could, and we had fences and she was fine at that point. One of my dogs helped raise her. She was very attached to one of my dogs, and in fact, if it wasn't for him and the love that he gave her, I don't know if she would have made it. Anyway, so that point, sorry, it's a really long story.
No, I love this story because it shows the depth of who you are from your soul, that you were born to do this. And this is just a part of you. I love what you said about animals healing other animals. I have noticed that when an animal passes, I have a cat who's 18 years old, Pedro Sanchez, and he's gone through 4 animal deaths, and he mourns and he looks and he misses. I mean, what you said is very impactful. Here's another thing I wanted to learn more about, because I think that in some of the animal communicators that I know, I don't know that they've even thought about this, but the changes in an owner's life that you need to prepare your pet for. Yes. That's brilliant, my love. Brilliant. Where does that come from? Why is that important? And what do they tell you?
Well, I mean, so many. Again, when you've just got like so many stories, it's like, pick one.
Just tell them all. I could be here for hours, because animals are those true souls. Animals are no bullshit. They are pure at heart. I could spend time with animals more than people sometimes.
I do. Animals are the most pure form of unconditional love. This is why their love can heal humans. This is why their love can make you feel balanced. Why stroking your cat can just release the energy. I mean, Emma I just loved Emma. I would just pat her and she'd just sit next to us, and the love that she gave to us. And even like if say another dog came up to the fence that shouldn't have been there, she would defend us. She was like one of us. And when we moved to another property, we actually saved for years to get her a bigger property. It was all for Emma. And then when we moved here, that's when the sanctuary really kicked off. She refused to be near the other cows. She hated the other cows. She was just with us. And
maybe because she was more of a person than an animal by that time. Like you were her people.
We were.
You were her baby. Yeah. You were, if you birthed a child, it would have been Emma. Emma, yeah, it was like your baby.
It really was. And when I found her dead, it was heartbreaking. She was only 5, and
that's young.
It was terrible. She got so I don't know what animals you have where you are, but in Australia,
cattle ranch.
Yeah, animals. Snakes. Yeah, she got bitten by a snake.
Oh,
and
snakes.
And people don't think like a brown snake can bring down a cow. And Emma was so friendly with all the animals. Didn't really like the men sniffing around, but she would sniff. We had a little turtle once we rescued, and she sniffed. So Emma, being Emma, would have gone, "Oh, hey, little snake," you know, like without. She was just as pure love. And so when I went out, I went, "Emma," and I didn't get a reaction. She was lying down, and you know when you just know your heart sinks. She's like, "Oh my God, she's dead." But then at the same time, I'm thinking, but she's with the dog that raised her, because we end up having to put that dog down because he had cancer. And so she felt it. That's the other thing. When he died, she had like this hole in her heart. You could see she was just looking for him and miserable. And then on the flip side, like you were talking about, when we get animals in, we did get other dogs, and she did bond with them, nothing like she did with Obi. The whole balance in your household is put out for a little while.
100%.
Yeah, everyone needs to find their new normal. Everyone needs to know where this animal comes into the family. And sometimes your existing animals really have their nose out of joint, because they're like, "You didn't tell me about this animal. Now I just have to accept this animal like you accept it." And so sometimes animals are just not happy that you've got a new animal. Sometimes animals are like, "Oh, come here, my new friend."
And those are the changes that you help people prepare their animals for. Is that kind of what that is?
Yes. Sorry, I'll give you an example. Sorry.
Never be sorry. Emma's like the catalyst that created this beautiful sanctuary. Your whole website is beautiful, but I was drawn to her because she just touched my heart in a way that, because I was raised that cattle are for food. Animals are for food. I know. But that's, I'm not a vegan. I'm definitely not a vegan, but that's how I was raised. But with Emma, it felt like that beautiful angel touched my heart.
And she came from a meat farm. That was her mum's long dead. And I've had conversations with Emma, and she's met, she's been reunited with her mum, but she chooses to be with this dog that raised her. So I think that's beautiful. But sorry, to go back to to help animals settle in. So I'll pick on my mum. Mums are great to pick on. She'll be fine. She first of all, she wasn't looking for another dog. I sent her this link going, "I think he needs to get this dog." And she, for some reason, she just went, "Yeah, okay." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't expect that." This dog, she just fell in love with this dog. This dog did not like cats. This dog was kept separate from the cats in the foster home. Just did not like it, did not like men, had basically been abused and mistreated. Spoke to him. I pulled up some information. My mum's like, "Oh my gosh, yes, they do play that music in the household and that sort of stuff." And I'm like, okay. So his name was Chisel. We changed it to Diesel. She did. And I'm like, "You're going to a house with a cat. This is the cat. I treat her. She's basically my sister. Like, we're going on the family. Like, you can use that." There was 2 cats at the time, actually, and you're going to this household, you're going to have to live with them. I know you don't like cats. And I spoke to the cats. I'm like, okay, there's a dog coming in, doesn't particularly like cats. You're going to have to give him a little leeway, and you pick on him because I know what you're like. And it was like, so you prepare them. You prepare them all. I had to prepare my mum. I'm like, okay, this is what's going to happen, the balance out of the house. Chisel, this is what has to happen. everyone has to play their part, and I can't. Animal communication is not mind control; it's just communication. So they have to do their part.
I love that differentiation that you just made. It's not mind control at all. It's just a dialogue.
That's it.
Like you would a human being.
Yeah, I can't say, even though I say, don't you put on, it's still dependent on them actually doing it. So yeah, you go through all that. It's actually a really great way if you are bringing in another animal to alert everyone and say they need a little bit more care, or they don't need care, they're fine. And you know what? My mom was just like, this is crazy. This dog is sleeping on the bed with these cats, and she'd send me photos. And they just accepted each other. Now that obviously doesn't always work, because I have lots of animals. Sometimes it takes a little bit to accept each other. Every case is different. But even the foster carer was like, that dog would have killed my cat. Like, that I couldn't have him around my cat. And yet he sleeps. And they all still sleep on the bed, in her bed, to this day.
Oh, I love that. Because that can make or break an animal, existing in a very happy environment, kind of like where it came from. I hate to talk about this, but we have to. You also talk about, is your pet happy, but end of life.
Yep.
Let's talk about that, because for you and I, we know that life goes on. We know that it doesn't end. For me, death is just another transitional phase. A lot of people, like 2 weeks ago, I just had to put down Pedro's sister. She just wasn't healthy, and but it was almost like a relief, that because she started to get into a lot of pain, but not everybody talks about that. So let's talk about your process and how that all works, because it's an important aspect of having animals.
Absolutely. And let's face it, a lot of deaths aren't that great. Some animals, are sick. So I can pick on a few of my animals, actually. So Obi, who helped raise Emma, he was getting worse. And it was like, it's good when you can have someone speak to your pet and say, are you ready to pass? I've had a few people let me speak to their pets before, and they showed me what they would look like before just before they were ready to pass. And I said, your pet, I'll give you an example of a dog. I won't use names or anything, but I said, your pet will show you heavy breathing, and it will, I can't even remember what it was, but like look at you a certain way. And she said, oh, I've already seen that. And the pet actually passed a few days later. It's important, I think, sometimes for the pet, although animals are very spiritual, so they kind of like, oh, well, next step. But not always. Sometimes they want to hang on because you're hanging on. Sometimes they won't let go because you're not letting go. And oh my gosh, we're humans. We don't want to let go. To put an animal to sleep is actually quite a traumatic experience as a pet owner. But it's something that a lot of pet owners are going to have to do. I've had different pets from different owners show me what it's like to be put to sleep. And when they showed me, and I was like, oh my gosh, all these different pets are showing me the same thing, that it's kind of like this veil sort of closes on this life, and then they're open to this other world. And this world seems like a really dull dream compared to where they are. And most of them are like, oh my God, this is great. They love it.
You just gave me a healing, and I didn't even know it, because it was I'm still kind of getting choked up because it's so fresh and new. Yeah. But to make that decision, and where we took her, they wouldn't let us go in the room with her.
Oh, how horrible for you.
Yeah, but you just gave me like a healing, a peacefulness, that every animal, when we put them to sleep, that it's really a peaceful transition. It's like from like a light switch.
Yes.
And it seems very happy, and that it's really a beautiful transition. And they're all the same. I find that so fascinating. Thank you for talking about that.
Oh, that's okay. I've had because we deal with farm animals, so we've had a sick sheep. Her name was Lydia. And it was kind of like going like this. She was getting better. She wasn't getting better. And I just said to my husband, I know she's your sheep, but I'd make the call. Like, when you just know, and she'd give you confirmation because you'd speak to her, and then she'd just come up and just put her face near you when you're like, you're so ready to go. Like, I know that you're ready to go. And my husband was holding on. And I had to go and do a first aid course. And I said, get the vet out. Just get the vet out for your own peace of mind so you can chat with the vet. But this is my recommendation. Because you don't force it on anyone, because you have to be ready. And you know what? The animal will be okay holding on until you're ready to. Like, they love you so much. They'll do anything for you. And I remember being in the course, and all of a sudden I just felt this energy leave. It was like this energy left me from the back here. And I'm like, oh, my God. And I just knew Lydia's dead. I just knew. And I couldn't do anything because I was doing an assessment. And then as soon as like the break was, I just went to my phone and I said to my husband, what's going on? What's going on? And I saw the message. We put Lydia to sleep.
And you actually physically felt. Wow. Yeah. How can you describe how that feels? What happened to you physically?
Yes. So I was in my course doing stuff, sort of like looking down, and all of a sudden it was like this big, I guess, ball of energy. I know I didn't feel it before this happened, but just leave. Imagine if someone was standing behind you and you had your eyes shut and you can feel that energy and then them leave. That's what it felt like.
Wow.
And it was just like, oh, okay. But then I kind of deal with death, I guess, you and I do, because we know it continues.
We do.
Yeah. And it's that, I always say they get the golden ticket out of here. They get to go see Willy Wonka's, chocolate factory. We're stuck here.
I'm so jealous sometimes. But you just have this beautiful, it's as if you always put the animal first. Yes. Not as if you do, and I love that about you. You also have on your website butterflies.
Yes.
Tell me what that's for.
Same way like you and I. Do you know what?
Because I have tattoos of butterflies.
Oh, okay. This is a good story. So I was very drawn to the butterflies, and I don't know why. Because I'm one of these people. I don't like traditional things. I don't like, butterflies is an example. I'm like, why is an example? Why is this? A message from your past one? Like, I want to know why. And don't tell me that a white feather. I'm going to sound like terrible. Not all white feathers are angels, because I have so many white ducks out there. I see, that's just the way my mind works. Right. But I was really drawn to butterflies. I'm like, okay, yeah, and I just let it go. And do you know what? This butterfly one day was just hanging around me, and it was coming near me, and it just was really in my face. And I'm like, okay, you've got a message here. And it was just hanging around, and I just could hear and sort of like see the words, transformation. It's weird. And I've never really thought about, like, I knew everyone says butterflies gives you messages and that sort of stuff, but I'd never really experienced it. So until you'd actually felt the message from them, to me, it's not real to me, because I'm like, oh yeah, I hear everyone say that. But then this butterfly was just so insistent, and it was just the prettiest butterfly, and it just said like transformation. And then once the message was crossed, boom, fine. And I'm like, to me, it was just like a turning point. Like animals give you, that's the other thing I want to show you. So animals give you messages. Like I see my past cat, the one I was telling you about, Elizabeth, before. That's why Nicole Elizabeth, because we're together. I would see her. I'd see her in a dream when things are about to change in my life. She brings messages of change. So the butterfly for me brought messages of transformation. So I was sort of going through a transformation. And I think not that long ago, it was sort of recently, I saw a cat go between my house, and I'm like, one, I don't own any cats at the moment because I've got 4 dogs. They're not really cat friendly. And I'm like, oh my God. And then as soon as I saw her, I went, Elizabeth. And then change, like there's change coming in your life. So past pets can bring through messages of change. Butterflies, there's flies around me. They can bring through messages, but until I experienced it with the butterfly, I just thought, oh, generic crap that people tell you.
Yeah,
Did not eat my words. Yeah.
Don't you? I'm falling in love with you. You're just like the most amazing, authentic, sweet soul. And it's so funny because I'm getting chills because the chickens started and we could start hearing them, because my next question is, your profile picture is with the chicken. So they must know we're going to be talking about them. Tell me about the chickens and that chicken. Okay. I love that picture with you.
Do you know what? That chicken ends up being a rooster. But the name of that chicken is Amanda. And so I would go out see, the chickens give me a lot of amazing energy. And if I feel like I have my workroom, but if I feel like I need to be more in nature, I go and sit out in my hammock and have the chicken energy. It's just beautiful under the tree. You know, you can just feel the energy, the difference. Guaranteed, every time I do a reading, Amanda would jump up and sit on me. And just sit there. And when I was done, chucked off. And Amanda can be quite the bully, but with me, she's just like, no, mum's here. Up, reading, gone. Like they just know. They do know. They absolutely know. And I call her my transgender chicken because she's actually a rooster, but has the sweet.
But she embraces Amanda.
She really does. And I think maybe it sort of reflects my personality a bit too, because Amanda can be the most sweetest little thing. She stands up for herself. She doesn't take shit. So I think that's why we bonded so well. And I have Amanda, and I'll go sit with Amanda, and like, you can pat Amanda, you can touch her. It's just this wonderful, I don't know, I just love Amanda, but they do know. They know when you need them. She knew when I needed her help, and it was kind of like, okay, you need help with this reading. I'm just going to come up and sit on you. And just having her there gave me, like, my energy just went, oh.
I love that. So I have a question for you. I have 2 Labradors. Yes. One is just the most beautiful gentle giant. His name is Jasper. And Stella is his partner that we bought for her, just so he'd have a partner. And she's in heat, her first heat. And we're going to have her spayed, I think, after this next cycle. Yeah. Tell me what he's going through. He is not himself. And I keep telling my husband, would you please quit being mad at him? He's just not his sweet soul. I mean, he's just like, just panting and hyperventilating. He's not eating. What is my dog going through? Help my poor Jasper. I need my husband to understand.
Okay, well, tell your husband, if you were in his position, he would do the same thing. Because he probably would do that. Yes. Oh my God. You give a man, let me relate this to humans. You give a man a small cohort of women ready to go. How would he act? He'd probably be panting as well.
Most men would be. It's that pheromone, I guess, that's being exuded out. And it's really quite cute, because he'll put his head on her in a very loving manner, but in the same instance, he's like, we're gonna do this. But then she's like snippy, but then when he goes away, she's like, come back. It's the cutest, most beautiful little dance. It is a dance. It's so beautiful.
What's being emanated from her, not just the smells and like the hormone change, because animals, as we know, can smell the slightest. They know if you've eaten dinner and you haven't given them dinner. They can smell like that. It's just, and this smell that is being put out from her is just like, you know what I liken it to? You know, when those cobras come up and they're like the dance, when you do the flute, it's kind of like, you know.
They kind of like mesmerize you and hook you in.
Yes. And so he won't change until this goes away. And like you're just in a cycle. Again, it actually, a cycle is a very good way to put it, because he's happy and he's like excited, and at the same time, he would actually protect her. Even though he's the sweetest little dog, if someone else came near her, he'd be like, oh, that's my girl.
Oh, absolutely. 125 pounds of pure muscle. He's like an abnormally large Labrador. You also talk about that you I love this, that you don't use any divination tools. Talk about that, and why is that important for people to know that?
Well, it's actually interesting because my sister helped me write that, and I didn't really think about it. And she's like, well, you don't use any cards or anything like that. You just chat to the animal. And this is why I sort of like, I'm not really a label kind of thing. Although, to be fair, I have actually done like courses with pendulums and things like that. So, but when I talk to the animal, when I have a communication, I don't. I just want to talk to them. And the way I liken it is, if I speak to my husband, I don't need to get my pendulum out and say, do you mean yes? Yes. Okay. You know,
oh my God, I'm going to try that on my husband just to F with him. That's brilliant, my friend. That is brilliant.
Do that. Get that into
Did you really mean yes?
Did you really mean yes? But
I'm going to use that.
Yeah. And just say Nicole said. But I'm not knocking people who do that. It's just you need it. Yeah. It's just how I just don't. And some people use cards and stuff, and that's fine. That's them. I actually find it all distracting. And I think it all comes back down to my childhood when I just talked to Elizabeth. And that's it. It's just bad. And I also think people overcomplicate it.
100%.
Yeah, it's just let it flow. Like, you know, I still, like, I have my crystals there, and there is actually a pendulum there. I just don't need to use it.
I have them just because I love them. I just think they're pretty, and sometimes I'll just hold on to it, but it's not something that makes me a better psychic medium. It's not.
I love them. I mean, look how pretty these are, these crystals and stuff. They're just beautiful.
I know. I'm a crystal whore myself.
I know. Oh, good.
I get you. I get you.
Good. They're beautiful, but you don't. I think we put too much of the responsibility on us, and half of the conversation is on the other person. And so when you realize that they need to speak to you as well, they don't use any tools to speak to you. Well, actually they kind of do, because it's either a picture or a word or a feeling, and it changes from animal to animal. But I think when we do that, we're sort of fearful that we're going to get it wrong. And people that, like, I'll give you another example of, there's a parable of an elephant and 5 blind men, and they stand, as you know, just paraphrasing, they stand around this elephant, and they all stand at different points, and they all feel the elephant, and they give their perspective. They're all going to be 5 different points, but they're all going to be right. So we may get things differently, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. So
I love you. That was brilliant. People watching this are going to just fall in love with you. You also have this beautiful quote, "My aim is to bridge the gap between animals and their owners." And that's kind of like, it sounds almost like your mission statement and how you roll. 100%. And your YouTube channel, holy schmidt. There's a couple of ones I want to talk to you about. Free will and perception. Can you just give us a real quick download on what that is? Because that's incredible.
So animals are, if you treat them like they're little humans, and you can talk to them, they have free will. They do not need to do what you say. Training a dog is what everyone needs to do, because, you know, we train people to do their job. We train little humans to become big humans. It's just part of life. So that's important. But animals have a point of view. They have something to say. They feel emotions, and sometimes they're not happy with what's happening in their life. My peacock, I'll pick on him, my white peacock, stubborn. I have dead set had an hour and a half argument with him. He was on my roof over there. I was on the ground. He wanted to sleep in a tree across the road from my property, and I'm like, dude, you cannot do this, because you can't go across the road. It's a dangerous road. I need you inside the property. Here I was putting all my barriers up. I'm like, you can't go past here. And he's like, no. Nah. I'm like, no. And he's like, no. And so we're having this standoff. Eventually, he got sick of me. Further up on the roof, flew off. flew straight there. Now, people think peacocks can fly. They can fly.
Oh, yes. We had peacocks on the ranch
Yep.
because they are the greatest watched animals.
Yes.
And they're very territorial. I love peacocks.
Yes. And he was actually teaching me a lesson.
Is that your one you have on your YouTube, Lessons from a Peacock?
Yes, did you see him fly in?
Whoa, that's brilliant.
That's the tree. And I was so mad at him. We had this like, fine, I'm going over here. And he was like, do what you want, I don't care. And so he's so stubborn. And I calmed myself down because he's free will. He didn't have to listen to me. Like, what? Like, yeah, okay, I live here, but I have a job and I'm doing stuff. I calmed down, spoke to him later on that night, and I'm like, dude, I can't protect you when you're like, you're not in the property. Like, I need you here because my needs were what I felt I needed was I needed him here. And he said to me, I can't protect you when I'm inside the property. I need to see from outside of the property so I can see it all. And I'm like,
what?
Oh, that's a bit smart. And I just didn't think of it that way.
But how can you counteract that? That's logical. That's like, got me. Okay.
Totally
we have a new understanding.
And do you know what? From that moment on, I went, okay, you know what? You sleep where you like. And he went there a couple more times, and now he sleeps in the property because then he like went, okay, I'll do what you want. But his free will and perception, like he's perceived it completely different to the way I perceived it. And that's kind of like bridging the gap, like, because it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense from his point of view. And from my point of view, he acknowledged that it made sense to me, but it didn't make sense to him. And now he does visit the neighbour across the road, I must admit. He's a bit naughty, but they come back and they're fine. So, yeah, they have
Lessons
free will.
from a peacock, perception, free will. It's all
Yep.
perception.
Yep.
Girl, that's brilliant. That is just so crazy wonderful. Crazy
Yep.
wonderful. That right there in and of itself really teaches a lesson, like really succinctly. Then you talk about Peggy Laws, a success story.
Peggy Laws. Oh, Peggy Laws.
I love that name, by the way.
Oh, she's
Sounds like
now.
an African-American diva who's just like Lizzo. Whatever this is, feels like Lizzo. Embodiment of Lizzo.
This girl, she has attitude. I'm not going to lie, when she comes for you, she doesn't now, but she was really mad when she came here. She just had this attitude. She was fine for a while, but you could see in her eyes, because again, the eyes, she's going to snap. And she would literally try to snap at you. She'd chase me up a tree. And she was like, what am I?
What is she?
She's just a pig. She's a big pig. But she had attitude and she was cranky and angry all the time.
Oh.
And pig teeth are very sharp. You don't mess about. You
don't mess.
Respect. Yeah, people die.
And they're very communal somewhat.
Yes.
Got to be very careful.
She just, and so I would go in there with my husband, and I'm just like, she was putting up her barriers for me for a long time. She's like, she knew that I could talk to her, but she's like, no, she wasn't ready. She wasn't ready to speak, and that's okay. I had to let it go. And then one day I had to go in there. No one was home. It was just my husband was at work, so I was home, and I just went up to her and I just put my hand on her and I said, Peggy, I know you're upset. Like, what can I do? And all of a sudden, it's just these emotions just came up. It was just like it came into me. She was I'm getting goosebumps. She was so upset because her entire life, she had to fight anything she got. She was with a lot of other pigs. She had to fight for her food. She had to push others out of the way, or she'd get pushed out of the way. Her whole life, all she knew was to fight. So she was just doing what she knew. So what we perceived as a behavior problem was just her like, this is how I have to act. And we're like, Peggy, you're here forever. This is your forever home. You can act like a bitch all you like, but we're not giving up on you. And you know what? She just calmed down.
We're not giving up on you.
Yeah, and sometimes that's all they need. And she changed. I can pat this pig. I'll go up to her and pat her on the belly, and she'll just like flop.
You just melted my heart. I love Peggy Laws. I love her.
Egg loves, I love her because she just has like such, but she still has that attitude in her, but she doesn't chase people. She doesn't bite them. She will, like, if she's had enough of that pig near her, she'll just move her along, but she's not the boss. And she lets Penny be her boss, and she's happy with that.
Oh,
She's just, so sometimes when people have that, they need to know. That's bridging the gap.
Yeah, but it is bridging the gap. And it's that perception, because what you think you're seeing is really might not be everything underneath it all.
Yeah.
You have literally created the most beautiful, sweet sanctuary. Someday I've got to get over there and meet you and see you and get that gentle hug from you, because when I connect with you, I just feel purity of love, someone who can help and understand the misunderstood.
Yes.
And at times it's a life or death thing, and unselfishly just bring them into the fold no matter what. You are a beautiful human being, Nicole Elizabeth. You are just a beautiful human being. And on your website, it says, experience you can trust. And you have made me a believer. You have opened my eyes to other possibilities. I almost want to tear up, because it's joy. It's like you have filled my soul with a new understanding. It's almost like you gave me some new light codes into my own physical mind, body, and spirit. You have forever changed me. And everybody watching this video, oh my goodness, you must connect with her. Before we sign off and we tell everybody how to find you. So I've taken a few courses from Lisa Williams. Even though we were born this way, I always love to grow. Tell me what Lisa Williams has done for you and what courses you've taken, because without her, we would not be together right now. And I always have to give a shout out, because she is another soul who has really translated some beautiful energy and helped me to understand things that I couldn't see about myself.
No, again, you're right. We need to shout out to Lisa, because our teachers, without them, where would we be? So I learned from about Lisa through some students when I was doing a syndicator course, and they're like, oh, you should check out Lisa. And her CSA level 1 course came up, and I'm like, yeah, I'll give this a try, because humans, it sounds weird, but humans are so foreign to me. Like, it's kind of like I'm just not in that world, but I am in that world, but I just find it weird. And Lisa's energy and the way she explains things, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And even though I still don't know if I'm really there with humans, I mean, I know that I've done things in the past, but to me, it's not my inner passion. But I wanted to learn. I wanted to know, like, how can these people do humans and animals? And I feel like I'm just stuck with animals, but I'm not stuck with them because I actually really choose to be with them. But yeah, so it's just the way she explains things. And I've done like a lot of her, also the pre-recorded courses. I have them. Actually, I need to watch a few. It's just like the technique she gives you. It's practical. Anyone can understand. And you know what? She lets you go, it's okay. And she also says, she breaks it down to where it's not overcomplicated. She makes it like real. Does that make sense?
100%. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
100%. She has an animal communication pre-recorded video that I watched, and I'm going to go back and watch it and see, because every time I watch some of her things or go back through, the beauty about her stuff is it'll be there forever, and I can go back, and I always get something new from it. Always.
Yes. Yeah. Oh. And I listen to it in the car because I have quite a long drive to the city because I live country. So I can just like Bluetooth it, put in the car and listen to it. And like you can be driving because, you know where you're going. And you're like, oh yeah.
She's a pretty amazing soul. She's a wonderful soul. But Nicole, you have forever changed my life in a very beautiful way. I want to thank you for just your time with me and allowing me to do this with you. And is there something that we didn't cover or something else you want to add?
Oh, I don't know. I actually think you're really good at interviewing, because sometimes I go off on my little tangents and I don't really know what to say, but you're good at like asking the questions. To be honest, I don't know, but I feel like what needed to be said was said, and what came out, because now that I'm older, I'm kind of like, things happen the way they're meant to. You kind of like, you let go of that, you know.
And I think that's being a spiritual person too. So we just know that everything translates the way it's supposed to, in that synergetic being, kind of allowing spirit to just guide us. That's how I live my life. And thank you so much for that. We can find you at Connect to Animals on your Facebook, Instagram, your website, your YouTube page, same thing, Connect to Animals.
Oh, I don't know if I've actually got a name for that, but yes, so if you look up Nicole Elizabeth, Animal Communicator.
Perfect. And I'm going to put that also in the body of this. So if anybody out there, because she is global.
I am.
It's just a different time zone, and it's manageable, because look at us. I'm in Las Vegas, and you're from where? I'm
from Australia, so Queensland. And I don't know if anyone knows Australia or Queensland.
Look at us. Look at us, Australia, the United States. So guys, look her up. If you didn't fall in love with her before, you are deeply changed by her right now. And I want to thank you once again. You will find her at Connect to Animals. May you have a beautiful day, and thank you for helping me to understand animal communication in a light that I never, ever even considered. Thank you for opening my eyes. Have a beautiful rest of it's your day. It's my evening. So my beautiful friend, we will meet again. I just know we're gonna come together once again. Bless you all. Have a beautiful evening wherever you're at, or day wherever your day is starting. And I will talk to you soon, my friend. Thank you again.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.